Right. So, we had just looked into PAM, PWM, and PPM. So, I think all of you by now, you're very much aware as to what is PAM, pulse amplitude modulation, and PWM, pulse width modulation, and PPM is pulse position modulation. So, as the name suggests, the modulation is based on the amplitude. If it's based on amplitude, then it's called PAM. And if it's based on changes in the width of the pulse, it is basically like if it goes high. Okay, if it goes high, let me show you another graph here. Yeah, PWM. Okay, so as the signal goes high, okay, you can see that you know your uh, waveform, okay, your square wave here, the width also increases. Yeah. Yes, so this is a good one. So you can see that it's peaking at this point, and you can see here that the width of this pulse is the highest. And if I say PAM technology, then the amplitude of this pulse remains high. Okay, most high. If this is comparable to the other pulses as well, but then the width remains constant here in PAM, but the amplitude, the height of this pulse changes. Okay, here the width of the pulse changes, and here the position changes. Right, so as it's positive, then it moves, and yeah, so on and so forth. Right. So this pulse width modulation signal is a method for generating analog signal using digital source. So we have a digital source, which can actually generate digital data, ones and zeros, and using that, we can generate an analog signal. So generally we refer to pulses. Okay, we don't generate sine waves. Okay, our output waveforms will be in the form of square waves. Okay, not sine waves. Okay. Similarly, I remember discussing with you all about the duty cycle, right? The on period and off period, and the total period of the cycle. So all this is very much dependent as to how much time it is going to be in the on state and off state. So depending on that, the value divided by the total time period. Right. So this gives us the duty cycle. How is it necessary? How is it important? The duty cycle. If we have more duty cycle, then on period and off period, the proportions are going to change, right? Of course, the on period time is going to increase. And if you can recall, I had given you an example about a motor, a DC motor, right? So if the pulse width is high, okay, then I can make the motor rotate faster. So it means I'm giving more voltage, right? Okay. So a PWM signal consists of two main components that define its behavior: a duty cycle and frequency. So duty cycle, we are aware, right? Frequency is the number of times the pulses occurs in a second, right? So the speed of operation actually depends or is synonymous with frequency. The duty cycle describes the amount of time the signal is high, that is on state, as a percentage of total time. So on state divided by total time, that gives you. So let us take this pulse. Yeah. Yeah, this is the best one. So if I say 10% duty cycle, then only this portion I'll be exposing. If I have 50%, then half of it is exposed. Okay, so how much time it's on? So you can see that here, on time is less, off time is more. So 90% it is off and 10% it is on. So this is actually referring to this 10% is actually referring to the on, and 50% is actually referring to how much time it's on, and of course 90% we have more time to be on. Okay, so in this way, we calculate or we check out with these duty cycles. The frequency determines how fast the PWM completes a cycle. That is about if I can complete about 1000 Hertz, okay, so that would be 1000 cycles per second. I think we are very much aware with this, and therefore the switching period becomes fast. What is the switching period? The time that it takes to move between high and low. Okay, fine. By cycling a digital signal off and on at a fast rate, and within a duty cycle, the output will appear like a constant voltage analog signal when providing power to devices. So when we are actually viewing the signal having a very high frequency, and we have worked out as to is it going to have 10% duty cycle or 40% or 60, 80 or 90%. So based on my application, I'm going to time these signals. I'm going to program the signals, and accordingly the output waveform is going to occur. So I am deciding how much of frequency that it's going to operate at, and how much of duty cycle that it's going to follow, right? So all these are with the designer. Pulse width modulation is a modulation process or technique used in most communication systems, okay, for encoding the amplitude of the signal right into pulse width. So I am just translating here, right? If my amplitude in a sine signal is low, okay, then the width of the signal will be low. Or let us take PAM, the height of the signal becomes low, right? So we are juggling, between the sine wave and square wave. So at the inputs we are giving sine wave, and at the outputs we are expecting square waves. Okay. Amplitude of a signal right into pulse width or duration of another cycle, usually a carrier signal for transmission. Although PWM is also used in communications, its main purpose is actually to control the power that is supplied to various devices, right? So we have looked into this previously, right? Where it gives supply to AC motors or DC motors. So based on the width, if in case I increase the width, then more potential or currents are actually passed through. If I decrease the width, then less. So accordingly, the motors, motors either move fast or move low, based on the width of the signal, right? So I think with this concept, you are very clear, right, with the pulse width modulation. Now let's dive deep into pulse position modulation. Now, as we know that pulse positions, actually where the position of the signal is actually changed. Okay. Now we will see what is this pulse position modulation. In pulse position modulation, now you can remember, you can recall that, we are using this signal here. Let me just show you. Yeah. So we are referring to this signal here. Okay. So just have a look at this, and we will look into it in a deeper fashion. Fine. So as the name suggests, pulse position modulation, which means the position of the signal is going to change, right? So which means it's going to go either to the extreme left or extreme right hand side, okay, when we draw a line. So let us look into it in a detailed fashion. Right. So in pulse position modulation, the amplitude of the pulse is kept constant. Keep in mind, amplitudes are kept same and the width also is kept same. Okay, but only that this signal is moving towards the left and the right. So how is this decided? So it is decided based on the amplitude that your sine wave reaches. Okay, so as the amplitude increases, it actually goes towards the right hand side. As the amplitude decreases, it moves towards the left hand side. So as in the case of FM and PWM, to avoid noise interference. Okay, so there is not going to be 2-3 changes here. We are concentrating just on one change, and that change is the position. And the amplitude is kept constant. The main reason why we are doing this is, we are varying only one thing and we are not varying the other parameters, is because, to regulate the interference because of noise. Okay, because of noise interference. So if I regulate 2-3 things, let's say I change the amplitude also and change the position also, then there is going to be a lot of changes in the signal, and ultimately that becomes an unwanted signal and it becomes a noise. So I do not want more noise in my communication, right? Yes or no, students? Do we need more noise in our communication, or do we need more message signals? What is more important in communication systems, noise or the message?
Message.
Yeah, message is very important. So there are various techniques involved, right, to get this noise eliminated. So it can be designing a specific filter. It can be band pass, band stop, right, and high pass, low pass, right? There are different filters based on the combinations with your capacitor and resistor. So how you the values that you give to them, and if you keep them in series or parallel, right? So all these combinations are actually going to come out with different types of filters. So unlike PWM, the pulse width is kept constant to achieve constant transmitter power. So see, basically you should understand why we are using PWM, why we are using PAM, and what's the application of PPM. See, the amplitude is kept constant, the width is kept constant. So what do I understand by this? I understand that the power delivery by PPM systems are going to be, by PPM type of waveforms are going to be equal. Let us say, for example, here this was delivering about say 5 volts, okay, or let us keep it in amps. Okay, so this was the result of 5 amps. So this is going to be the result of, say, 7 amps. So you're seeing a difference in power delivery here. Okay, so this waveform here, okay, this pulse here is different from this pulse because the width has changed. So ultimately the current required, okay, the voltage, the potential difference required by these AC or DC motors are going to change, right? So which means power delivery by this pulse is different and by this pulse is different. But here that's not the case. The power delivery is going to be as constant as possible, okay, because we have kept the width of each pulse to be the same, right? The modulation is done by varying the position of the pulse from the mean position according to variations in the amplitude of modulating signal. So this mean position is important now. Okay, what is this mean position? The average position. Okay, how do we take average? Number of samples, right? We take based on the number of subunits. Let's say you have about 6 subjects, right, and then the total is this much, and how much you score, so the total number of subjects and how much you score, that is divided, right? And let's say it's divided by 6, so I get an average score of each subject. It's not going to be the exact number, but then it's going to be approximately more or less the same, right? So similarly, I'm going to take a mean position here, okay, which is extremely at the center. So the modulation is done by varying the position of the pulse from the mean position according to variations in the amplitude of modulating signal. So this sums up the meaning of PPM, right? So the position is changed based on the mean that is decided by the designer. Okay. Pulse position modulation is a signal modulation technique that allows computers to share data by measuring the time each data packet takes to reach the computer. So it is as good as data transfer that happens from one system to another system, which is in the form of packets. I do not prioritize any packet, which means I do not give high voltage or high current to one packet and then low voltage and low current to another packet. No, all are treated the same. So in that case, PPM works out very good for me. It is often used in optical communication, okay, such as fiber optics. How many of you are aware of this fiber optics? I think we had discussed once, right? Fiber optics.
Yes, sir.
We have seen this, in our day-to-day lives as well. The broadband connections that these days are enabled are just because of this, advancements in fiber optical communications. So these are basically communications which actually takes the help of light, and with the light's help, transmission happens from one point to another point. And here there comes a concept of reflection, refraction, refractive index, and the medium in which it is transferred. So basically we are talking of light and the transmission of light, and all these technologies are enabling higher speed or data transfers in fiber optics. So PPM is actually used in fiber optics, which means to this very day, to this very second, we are using these technologies. Now, in your interviews, they might ask, tell me something about fiber optics. So a general student would just, talk about how much is the core cladding, okay, and the jacket, and what is the width, okay, 850 nanometer, or it can be 950 nanometer or 1050 nanometer. So, the dimensions of the core cladding and, the jacket. So, but then when you dive deep into it, okay, you have a normal student will just tell the specifications and what it is used for. But as a technical student, you will actually get into what technology it's actually into. So when you start explaining about pulse position and how the mean is taken, and how it actually matters, why are we selecting PPM, you will really have an edge comparing to your fellow friends, right? So ultimately, when when a company has about 100 people, okay, for their interview, the main reason why they interview is because they want to find out who's the best, so that they can get the best for their company. Okay. So you can stand out by giving in more technical details. Ultimately, remember, knowledge is power, right? The more knowledge you have, okay, the more you can deliver, and the more you can perform, right? Nothing is more prior, or nothing is more beyond knowledge. Okay. So if you have knowledge, then it's really going to help you. Maybe not today, but maybe during your internals it's going to help, during your exams it's going to help. You can help your fellow friends during your interviews, right, during your work. So knowledge is actually essential, where you don't gain it just in a single day, right? You don't just get it in a single day. As you experience, as you keep working, right, this information gets accumulated in your brain, and you start to become a more experienced and a polished person. Fine. So it allows computers to share data, and it's also used very much in fiber optics, okay, and in which there is less multi pathway interference. Now there is something called interference in any signal, right? Interference is like its form of a noise, okay, or when a signal is passing through, okay. Usually when you're in a thick forest, or in midst of tall buildings, your network seems to be bad, okay. Why do you think so? Why do you think so?
So the network isn't able to reach us.
Yes, it's not able to reach us. Good, but why is it not able to reach us? Because
It's a range problem and the thickness of the forest also.
yeah. So what is happening here? This signal has been absorbed by these trees, or it can be blocked by these tall buildings or thick buildings, right? So generally, when you're in an elevator, when you're in a lift, you tend to cut out on calls, right? So this is happening because it is bounded by thick walls, and you have your lift, and you're inside the lift, right? So generally, your signals tend to cut out. Unlike other lifts, where it's made up of glass, those are exceptionals. But then generally we see that the signals are cut off because of the thick walls and tall buildings. So that can be a way of interference. Now, when we say multi-pathway, okay, so it strikes at one point and then it comes back. So there can be a chance of these signals getting cancelled out. So multi-pathway interference. So a lot of signals coming, reflecting back, and that in turn doesn't help us in communication, but then it turns out that it's going to be a noise. Okay. Pulse position modulation exclusively transfers digital signals and cannot be used with analog systems. Very important, right? So this section is very important. So you cannot use it for analog systems, okay? Because it's a pulse and you have to use it for digital systems alone. So one best example can be fiber optics. It transfers simple data and is not effective at transferring files. So we can transfer data like light, but then not possible to transfer huge files. Okay. Pulse position modulation works by sending electrical, electromagnetic, or optical pulses to computer. So how does it work? It sends electrical, yes, we have learned electromagnetic, combination of electrical and magnetic signals, the E and the H, if you can remember, right? So these waves, the EM waves, the electric and magnetic waves, what is the angle that they make between each other? If you can recall your physics. The electrical and the magnetic signals.
So perpendicular to each other.
Very good. So it is making about 90 degrees, and we call it as E plane and H plane, right? The they have their own planes, and as the friend suggested, they are actually perpendicular to each other. Fine. Other device, in order to communicate simple data, it requires both devices to be synchronized to the same clock, so that when a series of pulses is sent, the device decodes the information based on the pulses that were broadcasted. Now, not only sending information, I have to make sure that the information reaches the destination, and in the destination, I should probably get a kind of feedback. Okay, it should tell me, yes, I have received packet number 1 and I'm ready to receive packet 2, you just send me, right? So these kind of acknowledgements are needed in communication. Why are we needing these kind of acknowledgements? So that there is not going to be any kind of signal loss. Okay, so I'm sure that out of the 10 packets, okay, all of my 10 packets have reached. It's not that I just sent few packets and I'm not sure if those have reached or not. I'm just assuming that they have reached. No, there is no assumption when you talk about communications or any practical circuits, right? You should be really sure of if it's really going to work out or not. So how do we do this? We do this with the help of something called ACK, okay, acknowledgements. So one important factor to keep things in sync is clock, right? So we have discussed about clock very much, probably in our digital electronic circuits and in analog electronic circuits. So can someone tell me, why is this clock important? Yeah, students.
So in order to time the output,
Okay. And then how do you time, like how do you explain timing the output? Of course, it's the right answer, but how do you explain it?
we hold the value for a certain period of time, sir, and when the time period gets over, we allow the value to be sent to the output.
Okay. You're almost there. Anyone else would like to add on to this? What's the importance of clock? Chainath, would you like to add to what your friend just told us?
So I use it for manage our lives.
Yeah, that is, with the regular clocks. I am talking with respect to circuits. Of course, that is also fine. With respect to circuits, Darshan? Kristen? Lokesh?
Used for delays.
Used for delays?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so all of you are almost there, right? So let me put it in a proper picture so that you'll get an idea. So basically, we say, at this time we are going to meet, okay, in a general perspective. So which means we are meeting at a particular time, which means all our clocks are synced. If my clock is about 8 o'clock, then even yours should be 8, right? Probably a minute or two here and there, but then we are almost there. So which means when our clocks are synced, we are able to catch up at the same time, right? So similarly here, circuits need clocks. Why are clocks necessary? It's because it can tell the circuit as to when I'm going to retrieve the next data, when I'm going to trigger the circuit, and when I'm going to start the next pulse. So based on this, based on the clock, the information is passed from one end to another. Okay. So without clock, communication systems wouldn't be real time. So when I say real time, when I'm talking now, you're able to hear, right? So if in case, our communication was not real time, if our clocks were not synced, then there could be huge delays, right? Now I do not say that we are able to do this only just because of clock. Of course, there are a lot of enhancements done to the technologies that we are using, right? I was telling you about the first generation, second generation, third, fourth, right? And right now, fifth generation is in the process, right? Where a lot of R&D is happening. And, of course, there are a lot of environment, activists, okay, who are actually, telling us that, it's going to operate at a higher frequency, and then yeah, so with regards to this factor as well, there's going to be a lot of research, and how can this power delivery happen with minimal effect on humans. So communication is all about having real-time communication. And when I say real time, then it should be instantaneous. There should not be any delay. Okay, it should be quick and fast, and it should be reliable. Whenever I want to connect, it should connect, right? So this clocks actually enable us in having this kind of real time data, real time information. right? So PPM works on a principle where it needs the help of a clock. Why do you think it needs the help of a clock? It's because only with clock, okay, only with clock, it's going to be constant. So because this will just keep sending a series of data, right? Series of or series of pulses of information. So if my clocks are synced, then the data transfer from point A to point B becomes easy. So if my clocks are not synced, okay, so that's another challenge now. If it's not synced, then I need to work out. I need to make sure that my circuits work in tandem with clock. Okay, so the device decodes the information based on the pulses that were broadcasted. So ultimately, acknowledgement, clock, synchronization, all this is important. Now again, to keep all this intact, okay, it needs an extra circuit which takes care, it's called timing circuits, okay, which takes care exclusively on the clocking of a circuit, right? So this can be the diagram where this is showing us the PWM signal and to compare PAM, PWM and PPM. Okay, so I hope these concepts are clear with all of you students. Any doubts with PAM, PWM and PPM? Are we
So
clear
how
with
are
this?
all the devices going to be synchronized?
Yes, we need to be synchronized. If not, what is going to happen, Rohit? Data transfer becomes difficult. Okay, now let me give you an example. Say you connect a pen drive, okay, to your system, and you transfer a huge file. Okay, so when you transfer a huge file, you can see the data transfer rate. Okay, so let's say it's about 10 Mbps. I'm just giving you rough numbers. So let's say it's about 10 Mbps that the data transfer is happening from your laptop to the pen drive. Now let's say you want to transfer from say C drive to D drive. Okay, that's within your system. So you're not connecting any external device, but then you're transferring data from one drive to another drive. And you can see that there is a phenomenal increase in the data rate. Okay, so that's because the transfer is happening internal. So whenever whenever there's a memory inbuilt, okay, whenever there is something inbuilt, when you're not connecting anything external, then that becomes faster compared to the externally connected devices. Now you are asking about the synchronization with respect to clock. Now it is necessary. If it's not in place, then this communication or this transmission wouldn't happen. There can be some packets left out. Okay, there can be some, if I'm saying a statement having of about 10 words, then probably 2 words would reach you, and I'm not sure if you have heard the other 8 words or not. So all this is very much necessary when we are dealing with circuits with communications, right? So clock is must, synchronization is must. Only then we are sure of transferring one data after the other. See, it's like this. Now, only when you finish your first semester, right, you'll be moving on to your second semester. So there's a flow happening. I cannot start you with 8th semester and end you with first semester. Is that possible?
No,
Is
sir.
that possible? Not at all, right? So I need to go in a proper flow. So this is like, being in sync, right? So your subjects are all made in sync. So clock is necessary and the synchronization is also necessary. Fine. Any doubts?